Welcome to Master of Narratives, where stories come alive in the shadows. Settle in, turn down the lights, and prepare yourself. You're about to enter a world where legends breathe, mysteries deepen, and darkness waits just beyond the edge of the light. It was supposed to be a simple night shift, but as Emma glanced at the clock, noticing it was stuck at 3:33 a.m., the silence of the empty office weighed down on her, thicker than ever. Then came the faint tapping, a sound that shouldn't be possible in a locked building, echoing down the empty hall. Emma had always been a night owl. In college, she'd stayed up all night studying, and now her first job out of college came with night shifts that she thought she could handle easily. She was hired as a receptionist at a small financial firm, but the job was less exciting and more eerie, especially tonight, her third time working the night shift. Sitting alone at her desk, she was supposed to be monitoring the cameras and answering any late calls, but those rarely happened. It was around 2 a.m. when she started to notice strange noises, quiet, almost imperceptible, like a faint scratching. She brushed it off as the building settling, or maybe the heating kicking on, but it sounded different tonight. The clock on her desk blinked, displaying 2:11, then 2:12. She sighed, feeling a twinge of dread for no reason she could explain. Then her phone buzzed. She looked down to see a message from an unknown number. Check room 405. Emma frowned. It had to be a prank from one of her coworkers, right? She almost laughed at the thought, but something about the message felt wrong. Her stomach twisted, but she told herself it was nothing. She ignored the text, sipping her coffee to push away the unease. But barely 5 minutes later, her phone buzzed again. She unlocked it to find a picture. A grainy black and white photo taken right outside her reception desk. In it, she could clearly see herself, looking down at her phone, frozen mid-sip. Emma's heart hammered. She glanced at the security monitors, but nothing seemed out of place. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Her phone buzzed again, the screen flashing with a new message. Check room 405, hurry. Against her better judgment, she stood up, grabbed her flashlight, and started down the hallway. Each step echoed louder than the last, her footsteps swallowed by the quiet emptiness. Her flashlight beam trembled slightly as she moved, sweeping over the walls. As she got closer to room 405, the faint scratching sound grew louder. It was rhythmic, like something or someone tapping insistently on the door. She reached for the doorknob, her hand shaking. She took a deep breath and pushed it open, shining her flashlight into the room. At first, nothing seemed out of place, but as she stepped further in, she noticed something odd. On the far corner of the desk sat a small wooden doll, crudely carved with a stitched mouth and button eyes. Her phone buzzed again, and her hands trembled as she read the new message. Look under the desk. Emma crouched, leaning down to peer under the desk. Her heart skipped as she noticed more of the small, eerie dolls. 5, maybe 6 of them, each with different expressions stitched onto their faces. Just then, a low, chilling whisper filled the room. "You shouldn't have come here." Emma scrambled to her feet, backing toward the door, but it slammed shut with a deafening bang. She screamed, banging on the door, pulling with all her strength, but it wouldn't open. The whisper turned into a chorus of voices, some laughing, some crying, all echoing in an unsettling, ghostly cacophony. Her phone buzzed one more time. She looked down at the screen, hands shaking uncontrollably. "Run!" The door burst open and she ran, sprinting down the hall, heart racing. As she passed the offices, the lights flickered on one by one, and in each room, shadowy figures appeared, watching her, pressing their faces against the glass. Their mouths were open, their eyes hollow, and they were all staring at her. She She finally reached her desk, panting, grabbing the desk phone with trembling fingers, dialing for help. But when she pressed call, she only heard static, and then the faint sound of her own voice, calling for help on the other end of the line. Her voice faded, replaced by laughter, distorted and unnatural. The clock on her desk flickered from 3:32 to 3:33, and then stopped. The seconds hand quivered, then stilled as if frozen in time. The building's lights went out completely, leaving her in pitch-black darkness. Her phone screen lit up with one final message. Too late. Welcome to room 405. She barely had a moment to process the words before a cold, skeletal hand clamped down on her shoulder, and she felt herself being dragged backward. She tried to scream, but her voice was swallowed by the darkness. As she was pulled away, the clock on her desk started ticking. Backward. The next morning, her manager entered the building, noticing her empty desk. Confused, he checked the security tapes. As he watched, the playback skipped over the hours between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., showing only static, and then a single frame of Emma standing in the hallway, looking straight into the camera with vacant, doll-like eyes. And so our story ends. Or does it? Remember, the shadows are never empty, and sometimes the scariest things are the ones lurking just out of sight. Who knows what could be waiting for you? Thank you for joining us here at Master of Narratives, where we bring tales to life, one spine-chilling story at a time. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, make sure to give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe. Tap the bell icon so you never miss another story. We've got more mysteries, myths, and legends waiting just around the corner.